Okay, so get this, right? Like, imagine a world where it's machines making the calls on what's right and wrong.
And maybe even doing it better than us.
It's like, whoa, straight out of sci-fi, right?
Totally. But the thing is, it's not so far out there anymore.
Yeah, and that is exactly what we're going to be diving into today.
Just like, how does human morality,
Like all our messy emotions.
and all the intuition, gut feelings,
I'm down with that, yeah.
how does that stack up against like the cold, hard logic of AI?
And why should we even care?
I think one of the biggest things to think about is that AI is already making decisions that have ethical implications.
Well, it's true. Every day.
Every single day.
This isn't like some, future scenario.
Yeah, that's here.
This is now.
Yeah.
So think about it like loan applications,
Choosing which ads you see.
medical diagnoses. AI is in all of that.
Totally.
And that raises some pretty big questions
Yeah.
about how these systems are thinking ethically.
That's why we're taking a deep dive.
So we're looking at this chapter called AI versus Human Ethics from this text on machine learning and ethics.
Yeah, it's like a roadmap to this whole debate.
It lays it all out there.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, this chapter, it really does a great job of kind of laying out these two paths
Yeah, two paths.
of ethical decision-making.
One is like the human path,
Yep.
right? It's shaped by our evolution.
All our intuition, cultural wisdom.
And then you've got this, like, the algorithmic path,
What?
forged in data logic.
Pure computational power.
Yeah,
So two totally different approaches.
totally.
And you know what? This is not just some theoretical debate.
This is real world. This has consequences.
Oh, yeah, because it's already happening.
Exactly.
AI is impacting our lives.
So to navigate this world that's, getting more and more automated every day, I think we need to kind of understand how these systems tick.
Especially ethically.
Especially ethically, yeah. It's
Yeah.
not about picking sides. It's about understanding, like, the strengths, the weaknesses of each approach.
Okay, so that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating.
Yeah.
So let's break it down. First up,
Who?
us humans.
Yeah.
So this chapter, it dives into this fascinating world of human moral reasoning.
It can get a little messy.
It's all about intuition, gut feelings,
And all those mental shortcuts we take.
all the time to just make these quick judgments.
Right, we call this heuristic.
Heuristics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're incredibly useful. Imagine if you had to stop and ponder every single ethical decision you had to make.
Oh my God.
You'd be frozen in place.
You'd never get anything done.
But of course, those same shortcuts can lead us down the wrong path.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Like when we judge somebody based on a stereotype,
Oh, yeah.
or we let our emotions cloud our judgment. Happens to the best of us.
Totally. Happens all the time.
The chapter really emphasizes how our emotions, things like empathy,
Guilt.
anger, all that plays a huge role in our ethical choices.
And one great example is, like, imagine you see somebody struggling on the side of the road.
Mhm.
It's often that, like, gut feeling of empathy that pushes you to, like, want to help.
That makes sense.
Right.
But the chapter also points out that relying on those emotions can make us inconsistent.
Oh, yeah, totally.
It's like we might judge the same situation,
Completely differently.
depending on our mood, who's involved.
Yeah.
It's like our internal compass is a little wobbly sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's a key point. Human morality is flexible,
Okay.
which, can be a good thing in some ways, right? Like, we can adapt.
Adapt to different contexts.
But it also means that we're not always consistent in how we, apply our moral principles.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
So we humans, we're kind of all over the place.
A little bit.
But we can adapt.
Yeah, we can adapt.
Now let's shift gears
Okay.
to the world of AI
Okay.
and how AI approaches ethics.
It's a whole different ballgame. Absolutely. AI systems, especially those that use machine learning, they're all about crunching these vast data sets, applying algorithms.
Right.
It's all about, like, finding those patterns, applying rules, like, consistently, impartially, at least in theory.
Okay, so walk me through this. How does an AI system actually make an ethical decision? Like, paint me a picture.
Okay, so let's say you're designing AI for, I don't know, self-driving cars.
Okay.
You could program it with, like, a rule-based system based on utilitarianism.
Okay.
And what would happen there is the AI would make these decisions based on maximizing happiness, minimizing harm.
Okay.
It would be applying that rule consistently no matter what.
That sounds pretty straightforward.
It does sound pretty straightforward. But what the chapter mentions is that kind of rigidity can be a problem in the real world.
Yeah, because the real world is messy.
It's really messy.
So, what if the AI has to choose between two bad options?
Yeah.
Where either choice leads to some degree of harm. Or what if, a situation pops up that those pre-programmed rules don't cover?
That's where things get tricky.
And that's where our human ability to, adapt and use intuition might actually be an advantage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So while AI might be great at following the rules, sometimes it misses, the nuances that humans would pick up on.
Yeah. So it's this classic trade-off.
Yeah, because...
Consistency versus adaptability.
Absolutely.
Okay, so on one hand, we've got humans, inconsistent, but adaptable.
Yep.
And on the other, we got AI, consistent.
But potentially rigid.
Yeah. This is getting interesting.
Yeah.
So where does all this lead us? What's a big takeaway for our listeners, for everybody listening?
Well, I think the key takeaway is that neither approach is perfect.
Okay.
Both human moral reasoning and AI, they have their strengths and weaknesses. And that's where it gets really interesting, because understanding those differences is crucial for figuring out how to best utilize AI in a way that is ethically responsible.
Ooh, now we're getting to the heart of the matter.
Absolutely.
See, this is what I love about these deep dives. It's we're not just spitting out facts. We're tackling some big mind-bending questions here.
Absolutely. And that brings us to, I think, one of the most compelling points of comparison, which is how consistently humans versus algorithms apply ethical principles.
Okay.
This difference has massive implications for how decisions are going to be made in the future.
Oh, yeah.
And it impacts pretty much every aspect of our lives.
Okay, I am ready to explore that. Let's dig deeper.
Let's do it. So, you're probably thinking, consistency. That's a good thing, right?
I mean, in a lot of ways, yeah.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about ethics,
right,
it's rarely black and white.
Absolutely. There are so many shades of gray.
This is why I find this whole topic so fascinating.
It's so interesting.
It really gets you thinking about, what actually matters most.
Yeah.
When it comes to these ethical decisions, is it unwavering consistency no matter what? Or should there be some room for flexibility, nuance?
Yeah, and how do you balance those?
Yeah, how do we balance those two?
That's the question. So to really understand this, I think we need to examine why human moral reasoning can be so inconsistent.
Yeah, why is that?
So the chapter points to several factors,
Okay.
including those cognitive biases that we talked about earlier.
Oh, yeah, those sneaky mental shortcuts.
Yeah, the sneaky shortcut.
Like confirmation bias.
Oh, yeah.
Where we tend to gravitate towards information that supports what we already believe.
Exactly.
Even if it's not the most ethical choice.
Yeah.
Or the framing effect.
Oh,
How the way information is presented can actually sway our judgment.
Totally.
Even when it comes to, moral issues.
And just to be clear, so the framing effect is, when the way something is phrased or presented.
The frame.
The frame, yeah, exactly. It can actually influence our moral judgments. So think about it. The same issue presented in two different ways can lead us to completely different conclusions.
Wild. Yeah, it's like how a news headline can totally change how we perceive a story.
Exactly.
Even if, the underlying facts are exactly the same.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not just our biases that make us inconsistent.
Oh, so what else?
Our emotions, who we're interacting with, even the circumstances of the moment.
All of it. All those factors.
Oh, those things, yeah.
Play a role.
Totally, yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, that reminds me of something I read about judges in sentencing.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, studies have shown that judges might hand down harsher sentences before lunch when they're hungry.
Oh, wow.
Than after they've eaten.
That's wild.
It's amazing how something as simple as a grumbling stomach can affect our sense of justice.
I know. It shows you how, easily our judgment can be influenced by, seemingly unrelated factors.
Yeah.
And that's something that algorithms, at least in their current state, they have difficulty grasping.
Yeah.
They apply rules consistently, regardless of those nuances or, any external influence.
Okay, so algorithms are consistent, but that consistency can sometimes make them inflexible.
Yeah.
What about the flip side? What are some of the downsides of human inconsistency?
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it can't all be good, right?
Well, think about it this way. If our ethical decision-making is all over the place, it can lead to unfairness,
Okay.
discrimination, even harm. If our judgments are constantly shifting, based on like our mood or who we're dealing with,
Yeah.
it erodes trust, makes it difficult to hold people accountable.
Makes it feel like the rules are constantly changing.
Totally. Exactly.
And that makes me think about that whole debate around using AI in the criminal justice system.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Something we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Some people argue that algorithms could actually help reduce bias in things like sentencing.
That's the argument, yeah. And supporters of using AI in the justice system say that, algorithms can analyze data, make recommendations without being swayed by things like race,
Gender.
socioeconomic status, all that.
Yeah.
So the idea is that this could actually lead to, a more equitable system.
But of course, there are concerns about algorithmic bias, too.
Yeah, huge concerns, yeah.
I mean, if the data that's used to train those algorithms already reflects existing biases,
Right.
then the AI could actually make things worse.
Totally. It's classic garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
Right.
So it seems like, again, we're back to this idea of needing balance.
Absolutely.
You can't just, ignore the potential benefits of AI when it comes to tackling these ethical challenges.
Yeah.
But we also can't blindly trust these systems without thinking critically about their limitations.
You need to be careful.
It's tough.
It is.
It's a tough one.
And that leads us to, I think, a really intriguing idea that the chapter explores, which is hybrid approaches to ethical decision-making,
Oh, okay.
blending the best of both worlds, so to speak.
I'm all ears. Tell me more about this hybrid approach.
So imagine a future where AI and humans are working together.
Okay.
Each one's playing to their strengths, right?
Yeah.
So the AI provides objective analysis.
Okay.
It identifies the patterns in data, it ensures consistency, and then the humans provide context, empathy, and that ability to make judgment calls in those really tricky situations.
So it's like a partnership.
It is. It is.
AI is this data crunching consistency machine.
Yeah.
And humans as the moral compass.
Exactly.
Adding that essential human touch.
The human element.
Okay, I like that.
Right.
And the chapter offers some pretty compelling examples of how this might work in practice.
It does.
So one example is AI assisting doctors with treatment decisions.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So imagine an AI that can analyze tons of patient data and research to suggest, the most effective treatment.
Statistically speaking, yeah.
But ultimately, a human doctor would still make the final call.
Exactly.
Right. Taking into account the patient's unique situation, their preferences, even their emotional state.
Yeah.
That sounds like a much better model.
It does sound like a better model.
Right.
Yeah.
Or think about social media platforms.
Yeah, totally.
So AI could be used to flag content that's potentially harmful.
Yeah.
But then human moderators would review that and decide what to do.
Right.
So it's a system that harnesses the power of AI but keeps humans in the loop.
Exactly.
It's not about replacing human judgment. It's about making it better.
Making it better, yeah.
See, this is giving me a much more optimistic view of the future
Oh, good.
compared to all those dystopian sci-fi movies
I know, right?
where robots take over and make all the decisions.
And we're slaves to the machines.
Right. It's
Yeah.
more about finding ways for humans and AI to work together.
Collaborate.
Yeah, collaborate.
Absolutely.
In a way that's ethical and effective.
I think that's the key.
Well, this has been a thought-provoking journey.
Yeah, it has.
So far, I mean. We've explored the strengths and weaknesses of both human and algorithmic approaches to ethics.
We have.
We grappled with those tricky issues of bias and consistency.
Absolutely.
We've even gotten a glimpse into, this future where humans and AI work together.
Collaborate. Yeah.
To tackle these ethical dilemmas.
Yeah.
And it's clear that, there are no easy answers.
Nope.
But by understanding these issues, these complex issues, we can start to make more informed choices.
Absolutely.
About how we design, develop, deploy AI in a way that benefits everybody, benefits humanity.
I completely agree. And there's still so much more to uncover.
Oh, totally. What stands out to you so far?
Honestly, it's the idea of hybrid approaches that has me so intrigued.
Yeah, me too.
This possibility of combining human intuition with AI's analytical power, I feel like that's a game changer.
It really is. And, the chapter also dives into some really fascinating specifics about, the strengths and weaknesses of each approach.
Yeah.
I'm curious to explore those in more detail. What do you think?
Absolutely. Let's delve deeper into those strengths and weaknesses.
Let's keep going. Okay, so we've kind of laid out, both humans and AI have their pluses and minuses.
Yeah.
When it comes to making those ethical calls, right?
Yeah.
But before we wrap up this whole deep dive,
yeah.
I'm really curious to really dig into the strengths and weaknesses in a little more detail.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what do you think? Ready to unpack this a bit more?
Let's do it. Let's break it down. Starting with the human side of things.
Okay, so what are some of the key strengths that we humans bring? What do we bring that AI, at least for now, can't replicate?
Right.
It's like we're trying to figure out what makes us uniquely human in all this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the most significant strengths of human moral reasoning is our sensitivity to context.
Okay.
We have this innate ability to understand the nuances of a situation, the relationships involved, the history, the emotions, all those messy details that algorithms often struggle to grasp.
It's like we're I don't know, hardwired for empathy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We can put ourselves in other people's shoes
and
understand how our actions might impact them.
Not just logically, but emotionally.
Yeah, it's not just like data points.
Yeah.
It's about understanding the human experience.
Exactly. And I think, that ability to empathize, to connect with others on an emotional level is a crucial part of, what makes us human.
Right.
And it's also what allows us to make moral judgments that go beyond simply following rules or calculating outcomes.
Because it's about understanding the why behind those actions.
Yeah.
And that ties into, I think, another strength that's mentioned in the chapter, moral flexibility.
Absolutely.
So we can adapt our judgments, based on the specifics. Of what's going on. And that can be so valuable in these complex, ambiguous situations where there is no easy answer.
Totally. Think about a rigid rule-based system.
Okay.
Trying to navigate a moral dilemma where two ethical principles are in conflict.
Huh.
It would really struggle.
I wouldn't know what to do.
But humans, with our capacity for empathy and nuanced understanding, they can often find a way to balance those competing values, make a judgment call that feels right, even if it's not perfectly consistent with every rule in the book.
Yeah, it's like that classic thought experiment, the trolley problem, right?
Oh, yeah.
Would you sacrifice one life to save 5? I mean, there's no easy answer.
There's no easy answer.
It really gets you thinking about those gray areas
totally.
of morality.
And that's where I think human judgment and intuition can really shine.
Yeah.
We can consider not just the immediate consequences, but also the long-term implications, the emotional impact, all those factors that a purely logical system would probably miss.
So we're good at context. We're flexible. We got that human touch.
Yeah.
Any other superpowers we should add to the list?
I think another important one is our deep understanding of the human experience.
Okay.
We live in this world of social complexities, cultural norms, unspoken rules, and AI systems are only just beginning to scratch the surface.
So it's like AI is learning to speak the language.
Yeah.
But humans, we're fluent.
Exactly.
We just get each other in a way that's really hard to program,
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And I think that fluency in the language of human experience allows us to make moral judgments that are grounded in a deep understanding of what it means to be human, what it means to live in a society with all its complexities.
Okay, so we've covered the good stuff.
The strengths, yeah.
The strengths, yeah.
Yeah.
But let's be real, humans are far from perfect.
Far from perfect.
So what are some of the weaknesses
that
the chapter highlights? What are our Achilles heels, so to speak?
So I think we've already touched on one of the biggest ones, which is inconsistency.
Inconsistency.
As adaptable and context-sensitive as we are, humans are also notoriously inconsistent in how we apply ethical principles.
Yeah. It's like that saying, what's good for the goose isn't always good for the gander, right?
Exactly.
We tend to judge our own actions and the people we like.
More leniently.
Way more leniently than others. It's, I guess, human nature, right?
It is human nature. And, as much as we strive to be fair and impartial, our emotions, our biases, our personal experiences, they inevitably color our choices.
And let's not forget, all those pesky cognitive biases we talked about.
Oh, they're always there, lurking.
Always lurking.
Ready to trip us up.
Yeah. So confirmation bias, framing effect, in-group favoritism.
Yeah.
These are just like a few examples, right?
Just a few examples, yeah.
Of how our own brains can lead us astray.
Even when we have the best intentions.
Even when we want to do the right thing.
Exactly.
And then there's the issue of scale, right?
Yeah, that's a big one.
So humans are like pretty good at dealing with, complex, nuanced situations.
One-on-one.
On an individual level, yeah.
Yeah.
But we're not so good at making those, consistent ethical decisions across large populations or systems. Like, our brains just aren't wired.
Yeah, we don't have that processing power.
Yeah, for that kind of processing power.
And that's where AI has a clear advantage.
Okay.
Algorithms can process those huge amounts of data and apply rules uniformly at a scale that would be, like, impossible for humans to achieve.
Yeah.
So think about something like allocating, scarce medical resources.
Okay.
An AI system could analyze all that patient data and make recommendations based on objective criteria, potentially saving more lives than humans could.
And that brings us to, I guess, the strengths of AI, of these algorithmic approaches.
Right.
So consistency seems to be the big one.
Right. It's a big one.
Algorithms are like these super efficient machines. They just like churn through all the data and spit out decisions, no human messiness.
Exactly. Algorithms excel at applying rules consistently, regardless of emotions, biases, or any external pressures.
Yeah.
So this makes them incredibly valuable in areas where impartiality, fairness are paramount.
Okay.
Like, criminal justice, loan applications, access to healthcare. Things like that.
It's like having like a perfectly neutral judge.
Yeah.
Who just applies the law the same to everybody.
Without being swayed.
Without being swayed?
Yeah.
By personal opinions or prejudices or anything?
Yeah, that's the idea.
It sounds ideal.
In theory.
In theory.
In theory.
Yeah. And in addition to consistency, AI systems are incredibly efficient.
Yeah.
Like, they can process tons of information.
Yeah, way more efficiently than we can. Yeah. They can identify those patterns that humans might miss.
Right.
And they can do it from these huge data sets and make data-driven recommendations that can help us make, more informed, objective decisions.
And that scalability factor is, like, huge.
It is huge.
Right.
Yeah.
AI can, tackle ethical problems.
Right.
Like, on a global scale.
Yeah.
Potentially, dealing with issues like poverty.
Climate change.
Discrimination.
Yeah.
In ways that, like, we can't even comprehend as humans.
Yeah, it would be totally overwhelming for us to do on our own.
It's like having a superpower.
It is. It's all about, like, leveraging the power of technology to create a more just and equitable world.
Okay.
But of course, we need to be mindful of the potential pitfalls.
Yeah.
Right? No system is perfect. AI is no exception.
Okay, so what are some of the limitations of relying on AI? Where could things go wrong? What should we be wary of?
So I think we already talked about the issue of bias in the training data.
Right.
If the data used to train an AI system reflects existing biases in society, well, those biases are just going to be embedded in the algorithm's decision-making process.
Right.
And it can actually make those inequalities even worse.
So it's like that garbage in, garbage out, right?
Yeah, totally.
If you feed an AI biased data, you're going to get biased results.
Exactly.
And then there's the whole challenge of context awareness.
Oh, yeah.
Which we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
AI systems, they often struggle to understand, those nuances of human interaction.
Emotional complexity.
Yeah, all those unspoken rules.
Yeah.
That kind of shape our choices.
Shape our ethical choices.
Yeah, it's like trying to explain a joke to somebody who doesn't understand sarcasm.
Right.
Or, like, cultural references.
Yeah.
It's like they might get the words.
Yeah.
But they miss the meaning.
Completely miss the meaning.
It makes you wonder, can we ever teach AI to understand, like, those subtle human cues, those things that really make us who we are? It's a fascinating question.
Such a fascinating question. And then finally, there's the question of accountability.
Okay.
Yeah. When an AI system makes a mistake, who is responsible? Is it the programmer? Is it the company that deployed the system?
Right.
These are like really complex questions that we're grappling with as a society.
It's like that classic trolley problem thought experiment, but like applied to self-driving cars.
Well, totally.
So if a self-driving car has to like make this split-second decision that results in harm, who's to blame?
Right.
The AI itself can't be held morally accountable.
Right.
So, I mean, where does that responsibility lie?
Yeah, where does it fall? It's a good question. And I think these are the kinds of ethical dilemmas that we need to be thinking about, really proactively as we integrate AI into more and more aspects of our lives. It's not about fearing the future. It's about shaping it responsibly.
This has been like an incredible deep dive.
It really has.
I mean, we've explored the strengths and weaknesses of both human and algorithmic approaches.
Yeah.
We grappled with bias, consistency,
issues,
all those tricky issues, and we've even like peeked into the future.
Yeah, we've had a glimpse.
Where humans and AI collaborate.
Yeah.
To solve these problems, right?
To try to find solutions, absolutely.
And it's clear that there are no easy answers here.
Not at all.
But by understanding these issues, these complex issues, we can start to make more informed choices about how we design, develop, deploy AI in a way that that's good for everyone, right? Benefits humanity.
Couldn't agree more. This is a conversation that we need to keep having, I think.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Openly and honestly, as we navigate this, uncharted territory, the future of AI and ethics it's in our hands.
And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. It's been a fascinating journey.
It has.
And I hope you, our listener, you found it as thought-provoking as we did.
Yeah. Think about it.
We'll be back next time with another deep dive into a whole new topic.
Looking forward to it.
Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those minds engaged.